In 2018, I stopped saving for retirement completely. And fast forward 7.5 years later, and I'm still not regularly saving for retirement at all. And I'm completely fine with it. But you might be asking, what exactly happens if you stop contributing to your retirement accounts? How is that going to affect you financially? What does it limit your choices? Like, what is going to actually happen? So with somebody that has almost 8 years of experience, not contributing to retirement accounts, and I'm still young, I want to break down exactly why I made this choice, the financial milestone that I hit that helped me get there and make the mathematical sense of stopping contributions. But I also want to break down a part that nobody really talks about is sort of the emotional impact of not contributing to retirement, but knowing that your financial future is still set. And then I want to give you some pros and cons, some things that you should do if you stop contributing and things you should definitely not do so you don't destroy your financial future. So let's get into it. From the moment you get your first job, you're probably told, save money, put money in that 401k, invest for retirement, invest as much as you possibly can. And listen, none of that is bad advice, but it's only half the equation because nobody really talks about when you can stop contributing toward retirement. Because the way that investing should work is that your investments are going to work for you. You're actually making money. You're investing in companies that help grow your wealth. But at some point, those investments will start to outwork you and they will put you on a trajectory that you don't actually need to be investing any longer. And what that is called coastfire. Now, if you've seen any other video on my channel, you know I break this concept down in detail, but basically what coastfire is means that you have put enough money in your investment accounts that if you never contribute another penny, you'll still have enough money by the time you want to retire. Now, coastfire stands for sort of coasting to financial independence, being retired early, FIRE, financial independent, retired early. That's what the fire part is. But the idea is you start to front load your investments. You do get that 401k match, or you max out your 401k. You do max out your Roth IRA. You do put money into an HSA or a brokerage account, and you grow your wealth, and you do invest as much as you can for maybe 5 to 10 years. But at some point, you're going to hit an investment balance that will carry you the rest of the way, even if you never put another penny in. Let me break this down with an actual mathematical example. So let's say you've been faithfully getting your 401k match and maxing out a Roth IRA for 15 years. And now you're 35 years old and you've got $200,000 across all of your investment accounts combined. What would happen is if you stop investing today, by the time you're 60 years old, assuming you get standard market returns, you could have over $2 million by the time you're 60. That could be over $100,000 a year in income from your investments. And then if you pair that with any other income sources or Social Security, it might be enough to retire on. So at that point, you could stop investing at age 35. But what actually happens if you do choose to stop investing? Well, first things first, assuming that you have your money put into broad-based index funds inside those investment accounts, inside those retirement accounts in your 401k, your IRA, your HSA, your money is going to continue to grow. Think about it this way. When you invest in an index fund, like Vanguard's Total Stock Market Index Fund, VTI, it owns over 3,500 publicly traded companies in the United States. That means hundreds of millions of people get up and go to work at those companies to build your wealth. You are now getting a share of profits from those companies, and as those companies become more valuable, your shares in that index fund become more valuable. So there are hundreds of millions of people that are going to work for you, and your investments will continue to grow. And the other thing is if you have them inside those tax advantaged accounts, those retirement accounts, you're not paying taxes on that growth. You only have to pay taxes later when you pull them out, or even in the case of the Roth IRA, no taxes at all. So the money grows, you don't pay taxes on it, and it just all happens in the background. And at some point, compound interest takes over and might eventually start making more money than you were making at your job in the future. Now, this takes time. It's going to be decades, not years, before you start to see that kind of growth. But that's what's happening to your investments. Just because you're not contributing to it doesn't mean it's not growing. But the other piece of this is when you choose to stop investing, you just give yourself an immediate raise. So let's say you were investing $2,000 a month across your 401k or Roth IRA, HSA accounts. Now you get all of that money back to choose what you want to do. Think about it this way. You have taken care of your future self when you hit this coastfire milestone. So now you can take care of yourself today with that extra $2,000 a month. What would you do if you had $2,000 a month free? Would you buy Disney annual passes and go a bunch of times every month? Or maybe a $2,000 a month vacation every single month? Just take a long weekend and spend 2 grand. Or maybe you just want to fund your fishing hobby, or maybe you want to go get the boat that you've been waiting on. I have a friend who ended up buying the hot tub because he finally hit a milestone where he realized he didn't need to invest anymore and redirected his money toward that hot tub he's always wanted. The thing is, you give yourself permission to spend money that was earmarked toward those retirement investments. And then finally, you're more focused on just keeping your portfolio balanced and where you want it to go instead of dumping as much money as you can into it. Now you're sort of in maintenance mode. Let it grow, let it do its thing, let it take off and compound instead of like trying to max everything out every year. So your hustle and grind goes down, and in fact, your stress level goes down. And to be honest, that's the part that most people don't talk about when they're talking about investing for early retirement or for retirement in general, is that when you stop investing, when you've hit this coastfire milestone, it takes a load off. I've had several financial clients where we've run through all the numbers, got all their ducks in a row, and they realized they're already at coastfire. Even if they never put another penny in, they'll have $2, $3, $4 million by the time they want to retire. And you should see them. Their shoulders relax. They breathe a huge sigh of relief, and they realize, I've done the work. My future self is going to pat me on the back and say, thank you for doing the work to put myself in a financial position that I'll be taken care of for the rest of my life by the time I want to retire. But then they go, okay, now what? Now I can actually do what I want. Like, it's crazy the shift that happens, because now they're no longer planning their life around work and saving. They're flipping it around going, oh, well, I just need to make enough money to pay the bills. Do I need to keep this high stress sales job? Do I need to keep this high stress tech job? Or I have a couple of clients who, hey, my wife has wanted to be at home with the kids. And she's like, yeah, I would rather step down from this high paying position and be with my kids. And when they realize the investments they've already made will take care of their future selves, they can make that choice. And now they just have to have a one income household to cover the bills, and that's it. It's insanely financially freeing. And honestly, that's the biggest part. When you reorient your life and your work comes after life, right? Your work gets planned around your life. That's huge. And ultimately, you're choosing what you want to do with your work. You're not chasing that next big promotion or trying to make more money. You're just choosing what fits within your lifestyle and your priorities, because you don't have to make more money. You just got to make enough. All right. So if you've put together the numbers, and in fact, I've got a link to a calculator below that will allow you to calculate whether you've hit this milestone or not. Maybe you can stop contributing toward retirement. But if you get to that point where you hit coastfire and you choose to stop investing in your retirement accounts, here's a couple of do's and don'ts. What you should do is relax. Realize that you've put in the hard work, you've built a financial foundation, and your future self is taken care of. You won't fall behind, especially if you've got some good planning in place. If you've actually come up with the how much do I need to retire number, which, by the way, if you need help, I got an entire video right here that breaks the entire thing down. So click the link right there. And if you know that number is accurate and you reverse engineered, okay, my investments will get me there, you can just chillax a little bit and don't panic about falling behind. And then number two is focus on the now. Do some things, actually spend some money, buy that hot tub, like actually go and do the thing that you have been putting off for decades or more because you've got to invest as much as you can. Number three, just keep track of your investments, but don't touch them. Like, use an online app. I use Empower. I'll link my full review here, but the Empower app will track your investments for you. You can see the performance, you can see what's going on, you can see any fees attached, all that stuff, but just keep an eye on them. But please don't panic when the market drops, because it will. Don't touch them. The only way you actually get to financial independence is letting them do their thing. And that means through markets that go up and down and sideways and all over the map. Ignore the financial news. Unsubscribe from any financial newsletter that's giving you market news. Oh my gosh, this is what happened and Trump said a thing and the market dropped. Like, it doesn't matter. You're a long-term investor. You're looking 20 plus years out. Let it do its thing. Now, if you want to, you can do what's called rebalancing. Let's say you've got some money in stocks and bonds and international funds, and one of them does better, one of them does worse, and you want to get back into balance. You could sell the one that does better, put it into the one that didn't do as so well, and now you're back into balance, and that's called rebalancing. But outside of that, there's really not a lot to do. Hands off is better when it comes to long-term investing. Now, here's something you shouldn't do. Don't inflate your lifestyle too much. Now, I mentioned go get the hot tub, sure, but make sure you're only taking the money that used to go to investing and put it toward those things. Don't start signing up for, debts and like financing a Lambo that you can't actually afford because it was too much. Like, don't overinflate your lifestyle, because here's what happens. When you choose to plan how much you need to retire, again, when you go through that video and you figure out here's exactly how much I need to retire, it's based on some assumptions. Well, if you fundamentally change those assumptions and you upgrade your house and your vehicles, and now your monthly expenses are going to be a whole lot more by the time you want to retire, you're going to need to get back to saving and investing right away. So don't overinflate your lifestyle. And number two, I already mentioned this, but I want to say it again. Do not panic when the market dips. Now, notice I said when, not if. The market will crash. And as somebody that's been through 3 decent sized crashes in my investing lifetime, I've been investing since 2003. I've seen a couple of things. You cannot panic, because if you panic, you will lose money. And what happens is you try to sell out of investments and time your way back in, you fall behind, you miss the recovery, and it actually ruins your coastfire plan, and you probably need to start investing again. So do not panic. And number 3, don't stop learning about money. Just because you've hit this financial milestone doesn't mean you're done with financial education. Yes, you can let the money grow and do its thing, but unless you continue to learn about how investing works, how financial independence works, how retirement works, something might happen that might make you freak out, again, going back to point number 2, and you might mess with your investments in some way that ruins the plan. So continue to be financially educated and learn ways to get ahead. I actually created an entire group for this. I'll put a link below. I call it the Freedom Investing Club. But the idea is investing for financial freedom, not necessarily to retire early, though that could be one of your goals, and we absolutely support that. But just, how do I have more freedom now? How do I set up my investment plan so that it can get me there sooner? And so if you want to join some like-minded people in there, I've got my free coastfire calculator is going to be in there as well. So just go to roadmapmoney.com/club and you can join. And if you have any questions at all, shoot them to me. I want to be interacting with people in there, answering questions. So all of that stuff is going to be in the Freedom Investing Club. But whatever it is, whether it's joining that club or reading some books, like, continue your financial education journey so you feel empowered as you go forward. All right, and then I just want to share my story of what happened when I stopped investing. So as I mentioned, in 2018, I stopped investing. I actually quit my job, and we sold our house and pretty much everything we owned, and we bought an RV. And our kids were 6, 4, and 1 at the time, and we packed them in the RV and we said, let's go. Now, we had a big chunk of home equity at the time. It was over $150,000, and we ran the numbers and realized we had $100,000 invested at that point. I was age 32. By the time I'm 67, I realized that would turn into $2.8 million with average market returns. So here's what happened over the last 7.5 years. For the first 2.5 years of that, we actually used that home equity to travel around the US in this RV. We hit 38 states, we went to 20 national parks, and I bought time back with my family while my kids were still young. Now, not to overuse a common term, priceless, because there was actually a price attached to that choice, but I would never go back and get that, what I can't remember what the total number was, a little over $100,000. I would not take that money back at all just to, be a little bit further financially ahead. The time I bought with my kids while they were still young, absolutely priceless. But what happened is during that time, we traveled from 2018 to 2020, and obviously the market dropped very heavily in 2020. I will say I put a little bit of money in the market as it dropped there, because having been through 2008, having seen what happened there, I knew it was going to recover at some point, even though there was a lot of uncertainty. So I did put a little bit of money in there. And then, of course, the market recovered and we were continuing to travel. In 2021, we decided to land here in beautiful sunny Florida, and we rented a house. And I decided to boot up a business instead of going back to work. I realized with all the freedom I had had over the last 2.5 years, I didn't want to go back to a job that dictated what I was supposed to be doing with my time. I realized all I got to do is pay the bills. So we got a place with great rent. We controlled our costs, and I figured out how much I needed to make, and then I just booted up a business to go make that. I did online freelance writing for financial publications. I continued to do money coaching for people, and I started my YouTube channel, and I just did various things to boot up an online business, and it paid the bills. And I didn't really even make enough to invest, but I knew that was okay because my investments were continuing to grow in the background. Fast forward, 2021, 4.5 years later, and I'm still running an online business. I do money coaching for people where I help them directly come up with plans like this, get themselves to coastfire and find financial freedom. I do educational videos on YouTube for me and some other brands. And my goal is to just make enough to pay our bills. Now, we've purchased a home, our expenses have gone up quite a bit, but again, my goal is not to make enough money to invest a ton per month. My goal is to just make enough to pay the bills, and I continue to do that. Now, we have lifestyle freedom. We do travel a bit. We prioritize a lot of the now things because we've taken care of our future selves. In the background, our money has more than doubled. And when I look back, I realized that my stock market returns since I think like 2013 is when I moved all my money over to Vanguard and let it grow is around 13% per year. That's, in my opinion, that's a little abnormal, but that's just how the market has been. I just put money in the market and I forget about it and I let it do its thing. And so we're still well on track to have about a $3 million retirement by the time we hit traditional retirement age. So all I got to do is pay the bills until then. And so for us, this has been a life-changing financial move. I've been able to build something that prioritizes my life and my family before my income and my work, because all I got to do is have the bills paid and my future self is still taken care of 7.5 years later without investing a ton into retirement accounts. And like I said, I put a little bit in 2020 and a little bit in 2022, and that's about it. But even outside of that, it has continued to be on a trajectory to fully fund our retirement. In fact, more than what we need. And we're happy with it. So if you choose to stop investing for retirement, make sure you run the numbers. Again, grab my coastfire calculator or join the Freedom Investing Club and grab the calculator plus my 10 steps to financial freedom and just walk through those exercises to make sure you're confident. And of course, if you want to chat with me, that's right inside the Freedom Investing Club as well. But I would love to hear from you. Have you ever considered stopping investing for retirement? Do you think I'm crazy? And I will say on all my other videos, I got plenty of people that think I'm an idiot for stopping investing for retirement to prioritize my life now versus in the future. They think that I'm going to be destitute and have to work until I'm 80, which is fine. Like I get that, but I would love to hear from you. What do you think? And if you want to stop investing for retirement, what's stopping you? All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.